Hey everybody, it's Rebecca and Din from Goldfarb and Lou, and today we're going to talk a little bit about probate. We have many clients who call where they've lost someone and they need to initiate a probate, and I don't do any of the court work. So this is Din's arena, and she's going to give you a little overview. I'll ask some questions, and then we'll be done. We can always answer more questions, obviously, if you call us. So Din, would you like to give a big picture overview of probate?
Yeah, sure. So probate is the administration of your estate. What's in your estate? Well, your estate is what you leave behind when you die, when it's in your name. So if you died and you had a house, the deed would still show it in your name. That house is in your estate and has to be probated.
And so what's the difference if you have a will or you have a trust?
Well, both lead you to probate, which is a major misconception people have. A will, I think, is just a set of instructions for the judge, and it names an executor and it names who would take and manage your estate. And it tells the judge where you want your assets to go after you've passed away. And if you don't have a will, you also go through probate if you have an estate. And that's when the court has to follow what are known as intestacy laws, which are the default laws of probate when you die without a will.
And so if you have a trust, but you still have things in your name versus retitled to the trust, that's when you're saying you're also headed to court.
Right. And I just want to clarify so people understand what retitling means. Just because you have a trust and you put the asset in the Schedule A of your trust does not make that part of your trust, actually. So yes, yeah, this is another misconception that people have. You actually have to change the title. So for your house, you would have to sign a deed, and that deed has to be recorded. For bank accounts, you have to go to the bank and have the accounts retitled into your name as trustee rather than in your trust. Excuse me, in your name. And so there are active steps that have to be taken after you sign the trust to be able to retitle assets into your trust. And so I just want to bring that point home because people don't realize that sometimes. So, but I in
So
saying that I
so they'll have a trust, and then maybe some stuff is been retitled into
right.
the trust, some stuff is left outside, and if it's too much left outside, then
Mm,
we're headed to court,
right.
if it's over the threshold.
Right. And we have to go in to posthumously move assets into your trust. And we do that. We avoid probate if you have a trust. But there, sometimes that avoiding probate is not possible, even if you have a trust.
And then who initiates it? And talk a little bit about the bond that's required oftentimes.
Right. So if you have a will, then it's hopefully it states who will be the executor of your estate and your probate. And if you don't have a will, then there's a order in the probate code, and it's usually your spouse, your children, and then your siblings. Excuse me, your parents, and then your siblings. And so they're just kind of these default rules. It just follows the
The pecking order.
exactly, the pecking order.
And then what is the bond in
So, a probate bond is essentially insurance that you buy that the court requires to protect the estate from you. So, the once you have the authority, there's nothing stopping you, from misusing the funds or running away with it. And so that bond is the insurance that is protects all the heirs and allows you to serve. So if you have a probate and you don't, I mean, you have a will that waives bond can be waived, but otherwise you have to get everyone's the heirs consent, or you just have to post bond. And so
and posting bond requires some income, good credit.
yeah, you have to have good credit. So if you can't take out a loan on a car, then it's very unlikely that you can you can pass the threshold for an estate probate bond.
Okay. And how much does it cost and how do our fees work?
So probate itself, probate we charge based on statutory fees. These are fees that the probate code allows us to take as the attorneys, and it's a percentage of the estate, and the executor gets the same amount we do. And so, a typical probate with a house, a few bank accounts, in Southern California, typical is an average house is probably about 700,000, you would say. Would you agree? That would probably be about a $16,000 fee just for the attorneys.
And the
And
same amount to the executor.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Mhm.
And then our fees, how do our fees work?
So, in order to start the probate, we ask for a $2,000 deposit, and this is to pay for the costs. We actually don't get paid, and the executor doesn't get paid until the very end of the probate. And so, we have to get permission from the court. And once all of the work is done, that's at that point before we close the probate, that's when we get paid.
Got it. And in terms of how long this takes, I know prior to COVID, it wasn't as long, and now with COVID, with all of the
Mhm.
court backup in their calendars, it's a very long time.
Yeah, unfortunately, even before COVID, it took a long time, about a year or so, and that's for a pretty fast probate. Today with COVID, I would say COVID has probably slowed it down by 6 months to 9 months. So just add that to the 1.5 years a probate ordinarily takes.
When you say, a fast probate, you mean there's no conflict. That's one thing that can really slow it down.
Or creditors. Creditors also slow it down, and so sometimes creditors will sue you in a probate, and so that will definitely slow down things. Had that happen.
Yeah. And then I think in general, the message that I always hear you say when we have our client meetings is
Mm.
to remind everyone to be patient.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that is what I beg of you when we start the probate. Know that there's a lot of hurrying up and waiting. We are at the mercy of the courts, so do our best to be as efficient and quick about things. But there's just no rushing the court, so that's why it takes so long.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know that you've done lots of them.
Mhm.
Uh, so it's just based on our experience
Yeah,
that we share all of this with you.
exactly.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And if you have other questions and we can help you, please reach out to us and
Thank
take
you.
care. Take
Bye.
care.